81 episodes, 81 conversations about the gap between what we intend and what we do. In this final episode of Season 4, Mind the Gap turns to the one thing it has never properly examined, the silence at the center of every gap, and what it means to hold your tongue when someone needs to hear themselves. It means to step back so someone else can step forward. And what a man called Bob knew about all of this without ever reading a word of philosophy. Here's Michael.
I want to start differently today. 82 episodes. 82 conversations about the gap between what we intend and what we do. Between the behavior we display and the one we'd choose if we were paying attention. And in all of that, I'm not sure I've ever done justice to the thing that the show is actually named for. The gap. Which is, when you think about it, always a silence. We had a friend called Bob. Bob was one of those people who understood something about silence that most of us spend a lifetime missing. When someone in the room was being foolish, not malicious, just foolish, saying something that didn't hold up, performing certainty they hadn't earned, Bob wouldn't argue. He wouldn't correct. He wouldn't sigh. He would simply go quiet. And in that quiet, something remarkable would happen. The person speaking would hear themselves, really hear themselves. Without the cushion of a response, without the distraction of someone pushing back, the words would hang in the air just long enough to become visible. And more often than not, the person saying them would trail off, reconsider, occasionally arrive somewhere more honest than where they started. Bob never said, "You're wrong." He just stopped talking and let them hear it for themselves. Bob is gone now, but the phrase has stayed with us in the way that the best things people leave behind always do. When someone in our family is about to fire off a response they'll regret or hold the floor past the point where anyone is still listening, someone will quietly say, "Be more Bob." There are two kinds of silence worth distinguishing here. The first is the silence of restraint, the reply you don't send, the correction you swallow, the perfectly formed response that you decide, and at the last moment, the situation doesn't need it, so you don't send it or say it. This is harder than it sounds. We live in a culture that mistakes reaction for engagement, that reads silence as absence, as weakness, as having nothing to say. The person who responds first, loudest and most confidently is assumed to have won something. What they've actually won is the right to be wrong in public. The silence of restraint isn't passivity. It's the gap between stimulus and response. The one Viktor Frankl wrote about. The one this show has returned to again and again, finally being practiced rather than just described. It's the moment you choose not to fill. And it's a choice. That's what makes it powerful. The second silence is the silence of generosity. This one is rarer and in some ways more demanding. It's the silence of the person in the room who knows the answer but waits because someone else needs the chance to find it. The leader who has learned that the question asked well is worth more than the answer given quickly. The mentor who stops talking long enough to find out what the other person actually thinks rather than what they think about what the mentor just said. I watch senior people in organizations who cannot do this, not because they're arrogant, though sometimes that's part of it, but because silence feels like a vacancy to them, like something going wrong that needs to be fixed. The room goes quiet, and they fill it every time. And in filling it, they empty it of something else. The thought that was forming, the contribution that needed just a few more seconds of space. The person who had something real to say, but needed the silence to say it into. Shutting up so someone else can shine is not self-effacement. It is, in my experience, one of the most active and demanding things a leader can do in a room. Be more Bob. 81 episodes before this one. All of them words, carefully chosen, I hope, useful, I hope, but words nonetheless. And the gap, the thing the show is named for, the thing I've been talking about for Irish Rail for over 25 years, was always a silence. The pause between the announcement and the next station. The space where the information lands. The moment before the doors open and everyone moves. That gap is not empty. It never was. It's where the thinking happens, when the feeling catches up with the event, where you decide what the words actually mean. Season 4 has circled something I didn't entirely plan. Episode by episode, it has been asking a version of the same question. What are we performing? And what are we actually doing? The smile that isn't yours, the advice nobody asked for, the lie after the mistake, the contentment we feel guilty for, the eye contact we stopped giving, and the conversation that's become a monologue. All of it, underneath, is about the gap between the noise we make and the signal we send. Bob knew that. He knew it without possibly reading Frankel or Aurelius or anything with a recommendation on the cover. He just knew that sometimes the most intelligent thing in the room is the thing left unsaid. We're taking a short break after this episode, back in June with a new season and a different set of questions. There's more road ahead. The gap isn't going anywhere. But before we go, what have you been filling with noise that was asking for silence?